Hey, what's going on, Doc? It's me, Dr. Ganatra, and I hope you've been watching some of my videos I've been sending you. You know, this whole week, as we roll into a new period in our life, the new year, I'm actually sending out some of these training videos for you because you may have a big vision for 2021 for yourself, where you're like, Ranesh, I want to start a practice, or I want to buy one, or, I want to know how to feel comfortable with vetting an office. So the question I always get is, how do I know if it's a good practice to buy? They're selling it. I got it from the broker. How do I know if it's good to buy? Well, I want to go over 5 simple ways for you to know if any practice is at least worthy of a conversation to purchase. So let's just go over that. And then, of course, at the end, I'll also invite you to join me in my practice startup course. We go over all this in such depth and detail, and it's an incredible course, and this offer is gonna close down. So join today after the video. So first thing, watch this. How do I know? Is this practice a good practice to buy? Here are 5 ways you can easily figure this out in your mind, at least so you can start the conversation with the broker, the owner, whatever it is. Number one thing, is it cash flowing? Is there revenue coming from that practice? Now, here's what I mean. Now, you may think, God, Ranesh, of course, that's a question, right? But what I mean is, are you looking at the deposit slips where you can print out, or the owner can give you a list of every month? Hey, this is January, this is February. For the last 2 years, you can have deposit slips of cash flow, of saying, hey, this is how much money came in, this is how much money went out through expenses, and this is how much we earned. And when we talk about cash flow, we go into profit and loss statements, where what was the profit, what was the loss, meaning the expenses, and that difference is the cash flow in the practice. Now, for you, you're gonna have to see if you're taking out a loan, or if you're putting in X amount of money, or someone's lending you the money, that has to be reduced from cash flow. Now, there's other things that can be reduced from the expenses that may not apply to you. Maybe you don't have that fancy car that the owner has. Well, that's what we call an add back. You can add that back into your overall summation, and that is money actually coming back to you if you were to purchase that business. So you gotta know cash flow. But what does that mean when I say you gotta know cash flow? You also have to know what type of cash flow this is. Where is that production or collection coming from? So I like to look at the production by provider report and the production by procedure report. That's number 2. So when I say production, I'm making that term synonymous with collection here, right? So really what I am saying is collection by provider or collection by procedure. How much did that procedure, if they're doing implants, how much did that produce? How many dollars came out of just implants or periosurgery, or, they're doing Invisalign? How much that came from that procedure? And then the question you got to ask yourself is, are you able to do that procedure? And if the answer is yes, that's a good thing. If the answer is no, then when you purchase that practice, your revenue is going to take a hit, because if you don't do that procedure, then that's kind of like not the value that's baked into that office, because if you don't do it, then you have to get somebody else to do it, and you got to pay them to do it, right? So very important to know your production by provider, which is your collection by provider, or your collection by procedure. Now, next thing you have to know is number 3, how many new patients are coming into that practice? Now, why am I even asking you to know this? Because you could be getting 10 new patients a month into that office, and it could be $1 million practice, and you're thinking, God, I only need to see 10 patients, and it's $1 million office. This is a great office. Well, not too quick. Why do I say that? Because if there's only 10 patients coming in, and there's no other marketing avenue, and there's only one doctor that's seeing those 10 patients, you have what you call a boutique office, where people are coming in just specifically to see that doctor, and they want to just see him or her. When you acquire the practice, what's going to happen? They don't know you. How long is the new owner going to stay on? How long do you have them on? These are all issues we go over. We go deep dive into some of this stuff. But this is something you need to think through, right? So if you're only getting 10 patients and you're doing $1 million a year in an office, to me, that's a red flag, because that's not enough new patient flow for you to kind of take on the practice and say, hey, some of these patients are not going to drop away. I would be happier if you were doing 700,000 and you were getting, 30 to 40 new patients a month. Because now I have a steady, strong patient flow. Even if like 20% of those new patients dropped away, I still have new patients coming in. And I can still generate revenue from some of the unique procedures I offer in the practice, right? So that's why that new patient count is so important. And knowing where those new patients actually came from. And that's where I go to number 4. Can you actually grow this practice? If you saw my webinar, I talked about you should only buy a practice that you're confident that you can double, right? Double. Why do I say that? Because if you're buying something to sustain it, that's not good enough, because your expenses as you acquire a new business are going to definitely be there. You're going to have your loan. You're going to have other things that happen. Your team may shift. They may leave. You may have to hire new people on. You may have to get associates or specialties in. If you don't do a procedure, your expenses could and likely will go up if you do not know, hey, can I actually double this practice? Now, how do you know if you can double the practice? Well, if you buy a 3-chair office, is that capping you out? Or are you buying a 6 or 7-chair office and they're performing at the level of a 3-chair? That's a better buy. So knowing if you can double it by knowing and seeing the potential in this practice, not because it has beautiful equipment, not because, the team is awesome, but more so because does it have the ability and capability and capacity to actually do more business? Meaning, like, are you in an area that has patient flow? Do you have more than 5 or 10 patients a month coming in already that are not being, capitalized on because maybe the existing owner is not treatment planning or diagnosing effectively, right? Do you have a team that understands the procedure you're going to offer? So look at growth potential. Really important. So many doctors get into a practice and they're like, I bought it for $1 million. I don't know if I can take it to $2 million. That's not a good buy. You don't want to buy something to stay the same. You want to buy something to grow it, right? That's always a huge perspective. Number 5, you have to do this. You got to look at the bank statements, the tax returns, and the practice management software. So everything has to sync up. Your bank statements have to sync up to your tax returns, which have to sync up to your practice management software. The Dentrix may say you did 50,000 this month. But if your bank statements say you only did 35, what's happening there? Or, your tax return may say, hey, you did $1 million, $500,000 a year. And your practice management says, hey, you did 800,000. Well, what's happening? Are they underreporting? Are they not showing income? Is there money coming in cash where the owner's taking that out? That's okay. Whatever they want to do, whatever their business practices are. But for you, you have to have clarity on these bank statements and also the practice management reports. And that has to run back so you can trend it. It has to run back at least 2 years. Most banks are going to want 2 years. So you got to look at the last 2 years and say, hey, these are the bank statements. This is the practice management reports. And these are the tax returns. Does everything jive up? You need to know these things. Once you know these 5 perspectives, these 5 ways to kind of vet an office, now you know, hey, let's have the conversation. Maybe this is a potential buy. Maybe I can negotiate or, throw out an offer. But if you don't know what the cash flow is for the last 2 years, because 2 years give you a trend of things, and you may be thinking, gosh, Ranesh, we had COVID. Yeah, we had COVID, but COVID wasn't there 2 years ago. So you want to see trends. You want to see trends, right? Trends are very important. Cash flow, that's number 1. Number 2, production or collection by provider and procedure reports. Really important. Who's doing it? What are they doing? Can you do it? Right? Really important. Number 3, new patient count. You got to know how many new patients are coming into that practice. Number 4, can you double it? Can you grow it? Can you enhance it? And number 5, are you looking at those reports from the bank statements? Are you looking at those statements, not reports? Bank statements, tax returns, and also your practice management software. You got to have access to that stuff. So I want to just drop this in here for you because maybe you're thinking about these things. Maybe you have opportunities coming your way. Maybe you have some time right now where you're like, God, I need to think through this. Look, the time to make the decision is also, The time you have to make the decision is not the time you got to think through this stuff, right? You need to start thinking through this before you have to make the decision. So I'm opening up my practice startup course and I'm rolling in the case acceptance program, the marketing, our Blue Ocean marketing program, and the full practice startup course here for a short while. So please get in on this. We meet every month. It's an awesome program. You will learn how to get clarity around all this so you can make better decisions for your future, better decisions for your business, or you can just be a more savvy associate that knows how to vet opportunities coming your way. So don't let up on this. Join me in this program. We had a bunch of doctors join yesterday. I'm not going to keep it open much longer with this specific offer. So join us. I can't wait to have you in the program. You will love it. As always, have an incredible day and live inspired. I hope this one helped.